And here we are again. A few weeks ago, we had the people on from Fort Ticonderoga, and we talked about the King's party, the garden party. And we mentioned at the beginning of the show that it's on July 14th, I think it is, Sunday.
That's correct.
So you can check that out, along with all the other great events that are going on at Fort Ticonderoga. I'd love to have them on because there's always someone that comes looking in period.
Oh, yeah.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah.
She's looking at a different period, but
Today's
right now
period.
we're right. Tell us a little bit about what you're wearing.
Well, I am wearing what a French officer, probably from the Languedoc Regiment, which was at the fort site in 1755, probably what they were wearing.
Could you stand up maybe and
I
get
yeah,
a shot? Just
absolutely.
kind of get a full shot so they can see your outfit.
So without tripping the cord
And
there.
boy, do you go to the dry cleaners with that or what? How do you keep that clean?
Well, white.
No, I like it because it's very authentic.
It's very authentic. Yeah, white was actually considered at the time to be one of the most practical military colors there was.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't know about camos?
Well, in terms of trying to keep it ready to use,
Yeah.
white has the advantage that you can always cover something up. So you can always try to bleach it, and if that doesn't
what you mean,
work,
like blood and stuff.
blood or dirt or anything like that. But let's you know.
Wine.
Wine.
Yeah.
Wine.
Yeah.
That sounds
Coffee
better.
for me in the morning.
Especially for the French.
But yeah, and then they also had this stuff called pipe clay. And pipe clay was it's just loose, very fine white clay, and you could work that in over the top of stains.
And so it really does make more sense.
Yeah, it lasts a long time, which you don't have that option on, say, like red or blue.
Well, and the sun will also whiten your, so you can even lay it out in the sun.
The sun's constantly bleaching it out, and it was said that it was, over, imagine that guys aren't wearing these for, a couple of weeks at a time. They're wearing this stuff for a year's time. That's the typical period of issuance, and over that length, white does pretty good.
And we're speaking right now with Stuart Lilie. He is Lilie. I'm sorry. He is the director of historic interpretation. So when he speaks, we know it's with an historic perspective.
Yeah.
And Beth Hill is the president and CEO of Fort Ticonderoga. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get too friendly there. But anyway, and so she knows, she's got the overall picture of this, right?
Yeah, and what I was going to say regarding the historic interpretation, there are a lot of places in the region that have reenactments or costumes and so on. And our approach at Fort Ticonderoga is really quite different in that all of our programming is rooted in our incredible collections, our world-renowned collections. Mm-hmm. And then through our talented interpretive staff who recreates the material culture, the clothing, the accoutrement, we're very faithful. And our commitment is authenticity, and not so much just because every little piece is correct, but because it's a wonderful opportunity as a learning tool to show our audience how we know what we know and critical thinking.
Right.
And the process of history. It's not just putting on a show, it's a process, which is so exciting for our audience.
And it's important, I think, to keep the history alive, and I know that you do. Now, we've got some photos, which maybe, I don't know if you've seen before, but when we were up there, I took those photos, and I was just really impressed with the accuracy and the everything there feels like it's the fort.
Well, and really what makes Fort Ticonderoga so remarkable is not only do we have this epic history that was defining for the continent in the 18th century and a source of inspiration in the 19th century and monumental restoration in the 20th century, but we also have this pristine landscape, 2,000 acres, 2 miles of shoreline. And so and then we have these incredible collections. So Fort Ticonderoga is definitely a cultural destination for families. We really reach from the first-time 4-year-old fort visitor all the way up to world-renowned scholars and everybody in between. And so it's such a special place, and really anyone can find a certain way that they feel inspired and how they want to experience Fort Ticonderoga. Right. So it is remarkable.
It's a great place to visit. The idea that you can see the costumes, if you look at the photos that we had shown, you'll see how they lived in the fort, how the soldiers lived. Were there any women in the fort?
It depends on what time you're
like
looking
cooking
at.
Or anything? Or?
Men, but believe it or not, it's a little different. Men were expected to cook for themselves and also to sew clothing for themselves too. It's a different world than people imagine the past was like. So were there women around? It really depends on what time, and depends on who's there. Americans on the whole, because later on when during our American Revolution, they're typically only enlisted for as little as 2 or 3 months, or as little as as much as a year or 3 years. You don't bring your family from home for that, especially because they're usually in settled areas that are a lot safer. However, you see British soldiers and German soldiers who actually capture the fort back during our American Revolution.
Oh, that fort went back and forth so many times.
Just over and over again. Because you had camp followers or soldiers' wives who had lived with the army for years. For them, it was nothing to come to the fort. Right. So it just depends.
Well, I would recommend that you take a staycation, go up a little bit north from here, and go to Fort Ticonderoga. It's a great place. They have a lot of events. What's your next event coming up?
So our next great event is for 4 days, the weekend of July 4th. July 4th through the 7th, and it is 1776 that weekend, which is appropriate. And we'll have all kinds of great programs. We'll have our horse out and doing some work around the site with our horse-drawn carriage and some other construction work.
We're going to do cannon demonstrations during the day, and not just shooting off the powder, that you can see in a lot of places.
Which is glitzy, but to learn a little bit more about it.
Yeah, learn a little bit more about it, and we really try to show the process of, Americans came to that fort. They found a lot of old antique cannon tubes, and they had to work to get them rebuilt and onto new carriages and all that sort of behind-the-scenes stuff that was done at the time. We try to actually do that for real nowadays. So when visitors see that cannon go off, they get the sense of kind of relief and celebration that they at the time. It was like, finally, another working gun.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we have a big event the third weekend in July called Montcalm's Cross, and that's a big battle reenactment weekend. 2 different battles.
And they're fun to go to. These reenactments are really fun to go to. You really get the feel for what it must have been like. They make it pretty accurate, I think.
And then, of course, every day is an experience at Fort Ticonderoga, and that's when our interpretive team interprets this year 1755, so people can see the French fort and the daily life associated with that, all the fatigue duty, the historic trades. And then, of course, we have our beautiful gardens on our landscape, a new hiking trail on our battlefield. We have canoe rentals this year, special evening programs,
this sounds like
tours.
Just get a hotel room and enjoy the experience.
And a great cafe, too,
Right.
So it's a full-day experience.
Beth Hill, she's the CEO and president, and Stuart Lilie, he is the historic interpretation director. So you'll be able to see them up there, and they're going to guide you through this and enjoy it. It's a great place to visit for the summer. And you close in the fall, right?
Our last day for daily visitation is the end of October, but we do programs year-round now, so it's great for our regional audience because they can check out our calendar and some really amazing programs throughout the year, seminars, workshops, treks outside, snowshoe treks.
Right, FortTiconderoga.org. Check it out. I'm Ann Pearl, and thank you both for being here today and showing off your wonderful outfit.